It's October. It's Saturday morning, someplace between 9 and 10, I think. I'm driving on the freeway with my wife, Kathy. We're headed up to a Husky game, someplace between Federal Way and the SeaTac exit, the old SeaTac exit. All of a sudden, I clearly hear the Lord say, I want you to merge with Church of the Risen Savior and Grace Fellowship. So let me backtrack and just give you a little bit of history of the three churches that the Lord was speaking of. At the time, I was pastoring New Covenant Christian Fellowship. We started in December of 1985. Sadly, it was a church split out of First Christian Church. And there was about 175, 80 of us who gathered together. We met for the first year and a half over in Cowayman Junior High, and then we moved across the parking lot to the Kelso High School until, it would be 88. And in 88, we got approached and were asked, would you be interested in buying the Peasley building? I had no idea where the Peasley building was, but I met Bill Hallinger down here and discovered that the Peasley building was this building here. And what he was referring to is buying the whole building. So that was a New Covenant Christian Fellowship. Church of the Risen Savior was also the product of a split. Now, Jim was not present when the split took place. He came along and was the second pastor afterwards. It was also a split out of Longview Community Church. Paul was at Grace Fellowship, which was meeting in Church of the Risen Savior's building, and they were a church plant out of Chapin, which was a split off of First Christian Church. It was messy, let me tell you. It's messy.
That we talked to you, and I fondly say that after we picked Paul up off the floor from laughing so hard, we began to really talk about it and look at it in terms of wow, this could be God. I remember when we picked the name Father's House, none of the three of us had ever really heard that name before, and thought, well, that sounds good. We bandied around a bunch of names, through the process, but that's the one that really stuck out. And but I remember something even more significant on the way down there. We're driving, and we'd left right after church on Sunday morning, and we had a guy that came. His name was Steve, and he always brought his dog. And every Sunday, he would get up, and he'd sit right on the aisle, but he wouldn't walk out the aisle. He'd stand up and he'd walk clear across over there and back and stuff. And there was just an irritation with it. It's kind of like sand in your shoe, and you're thinking, something's got to give here. And we're discussing this on the way down, and one of us said, hey guys, that's somebody's son. And they've been praying for him, and he's there. And I think that did something in us that solidified not only our being together, but some of the direction that God had for the church.
And without the humility, as they said, of Larry, Jim, and Paul, I can't stress it enough. They heard the Lord, and they actually acted on it.
I think that we talk things sometimes when God's asking us to walk it.
See, when God told Moses, son, I am the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. You've got father, you've got son, you've got grandson. You have the old, you have the past, the present, and the future. And as a leader team, it is incumbent upon us as church leaders to never forget those in the past, those in the present, or those to be in the future.
Comfortable with the church exactly the size that it is. I was telling Rick the other day, gosh, I just wish I would just, but I have that itch. Like, No, there's more. And it's because there's more people who need to know Jesus.
God's got some great things ahead of us. He gave me a promise a few years ago. He says the best is still in front of you. And I believe that was not just for me personally. It was for Father's house. It was for what God's doing in the city. It's for what He has coming at us. And I'm excited to see what the next years hold, because I know that we may sit here on another day and we'll have a whole new set of stories of what God's done and the amazing grace and love and mercy He's poured out on us.